The story in this movie is about an officer whose name is David. David is being sent to an island for the next year so that after reaching that place, David can check the weather. David has been sent on a ship with the ship's captain. These people have been traveling on the ship for about 60 or 70 days. Along with David, the government has also sent food supplies for a year and the things needed for work. After traveling for some time, these people reach that island. They reach the island from the ship by using a small boat. There was already a house there. Actually, this house belonged to a weather officer who had been sent before David to collect weather information, but he was not there. The ship's captain said that he had died here. These people go inside that house. Then a man says, "Where should we keep David's belongings?" So David said, "Keep them here in this house." Then the ship's captain said, "No, first let me inspect this place, then we will decide." But David said, "There is no danger here. Just keep the belongings here." Then they see a lighthouse on this island. When David and the captain reached near the lighthouse, the door of the lighthouse was closed, and around the lighthouse, sharp wooden stakes had been placed. Both of them called out loudly, asking if anyone was inside, but no one replied. Then David pushed the door hard, and the door opened. Inside, a man was sleeping. The captain woke him up from sleep and asked, "Who are you?" He said, "My name is Gruner." Then the captain asked, "Where is the weather officer?" Gruner said, "I don't know about him, but I watch over this lighthouse." After this, the ship's captain was preparing to leave the island. The captain said to David, "This place is dangerous. You should come back with us." But David refused to go and said, "I will leave only after completing the purpose for which I have come here." So the captain gave David a pistol and said, "Take care of yourself." Then they left from there. After this, David fixed all the scattered things of the house and made the house livable. David found a diary that belonged to the previous weather officer. In that diary, there was a picture of his wife and some strange drawings that the officer had made. David thought that maybe the weather officer had made all this just to pass the time. In the morning, he was going to gather weather information when he found some fish pieces rotten inside circles of stones. He thought these circles must have been made by Gruner. So David moved forward to observe the weather and was noting down the information. When he looked through the binoculars towards the lighthouse, Gruner was standing there, but David saw someone else with Gruner. When David looked again through the binoculars, there was no one there. David thought maybe it was just an illusion of his eyes. In the next scene at night, David was sitting inside the house. Then someone knocked on the door. David went forward, thinking it was Gruner. So he asked, "Gruner, is that you?" But no one replied. Then from under the door, a hand was reaching inside, and this hand belonged to some strange creature. So David struck the hand hard with sticks, and that creature pulled its hand back outside. Then the creature started banging hard on the door. David quickly hid inside the basement of the house. Suddenly, the eyes of that creature appeared, so David stabbed its eye with a dagger. Wounded, that creature went away. David stayed in the basement the whole night. In the morning, when he came out of the house, he saw that some strange kinds of footprints were going toward the sea. David went toward the lighthouse and started shouting loudly, "Gruner! Gruner! Open the door!" From above, Gruner threw water on David and said, "I will not let you come into my lighthouse. Go away from here." After this, David gathered the house's belongings and some books around the house, set up sharp wooden stakes, sprinkled petrol on them, and closed the house windows. Inside the house, David found a gun that belonged to the previous weather officer. The whole night, David stayed awake for his safety. When he looked through the window toward the sea, many creatures were coming from there to attack his house. After that, the creatures started breaking the house's door. David fired bullets at them so that the creatures would get scared by the sound of the gunshots and run away, but it was not affecting them. When the situation went out of control, David threw a burning torch outside. Because of the petrol he had sprinkled on the things outside, a fire started. Scared of the fire, the creatures ran away from there. But the fire spread inside the house, so David wrapped himself in a blanket and ran outside the house. Sitting down after running away from there, suddenly it started raining, which put out the fire burning in the house. In the morning, when David saw the whole house was destroyed because of the fire and was no longer livable, So it became necessary for him to stay in the lighthouse. That's why David started spying on Gruner. Every day Gruner came down to get water. When David aimed the gun at Gruner, a strange kind of creature attacked him. A fight happened between David and that creature. David pointed the gun at it, but Gruner said, "Leave it. This creature is not dangerous." Then Gruner said, "You can stay in the lighthouse. Just let this creature go." Actually, this creature was one of those that attacked David every night, but this one was Gruner's pet. When David was sleeping in the lighthouse, that creature was licking his hand. His hand had been injured the previous night while fighting with those creatures. David suddenly woke up because of the creature licking him, and he felt a bit of relief. The wound started healing, and the pain lessened. Then David told Gruner that if they told the outside world about this creature, they would get a lot of money. But Gruner refused him. Then Gruner said, "This creature is different from the other ones. It doesn't harm anyone." Gruner also said those creatures cannot bear the sunlight in the daytime. That's why they attack in the darkness of night. When night came, Gruner fired the flare gun, and that creature was calling its companions, making strange sounds. Suddenly, many creatures appeared in front of them. Gruner told David to fire bullets, but David, frightened of those creatures, fainted. Gruner killed all the creatures alone. In the morning, Gruner was very angry at David and told him, "If you want to stay here, then you have to fight with those creatures." In the next scene, it is shown that Gruner has a connection with that creature and also tortures it a lot. When night falls, Gruner again fires the flare gun so that with the light of the flare, he can detect the creatures. Again, suddenly, a large number of creatures were coming toward the lighthouse. Gruner told David, "This is your last chance. Fire bullets if you want to stay here." The creatures attacked David, and David fired bullets. While Gruner went inside the lighthouse and locked the door, David shouted loudly, "Open the door!" But Gruner did not open it. When morning came and Gruner opened the door, David was sitting there alive, his body covered in blood. He had been fighting the creatures alone the whole night. In the morning, Gruner and David were placing sharp wooden stakes around the lighthouse for their protection, preparing for the next night. When night came, even after waiting a long time, the creatures did not arrive. So, David asked, "Why didn't the creatures come today?" Gruner replied, "They didn't come today because they are increasing their numbers." The next night, Gruner and David forgot to turn on the lighthouse lights. They were comfortably playing a game, thinking that the creatures would not attack tonight either. But suddenly, Gruner fired a shot, and one creature had reached up to the lighthouse. When they saw a huge number of creatures had launched an attack, David and Gruner fired bullets at the creatures, killing many of them, but their numbers did not decrease. When their bullets ran out, David and Gruner both went inside the lighthouse. But while going inside, a creature bit Gruner's leg, injuring him. The whole night, the creatures tried to break the lighthouse. During this time, when the morning sun was rising, the creatures left the lighthouse and ran away. In the morning, that creature was licking Gruner's wound, because by its licking, the wound healed faster. David told Gruner, "Our food supplies, bullets, and even courage are running out in this darkness, so we have to do something." After some time, David went to the seashore and saw a ship there. So David quickly ran to the lighthouse and brought a flare gun so that by firing it, the people on the ship would know their location. Just as he was about to fire the flare gun, Gruner hit him hard and said, "You cannot fire this." Actually, Gruner did not want to leave this island and go back. He considered himself the king of this place because all the creatures were afraid of him. And he was not letting David leave either, because David was very important for him otherwise. He would be left alone if he let David go. After some days passed, that creature had become friendly with David. David gave it a small boat made of bones as a gift. When the creature saw the boat, it took David to a real boat. When David saw the boat, he went to Gruner and told him, "There is a boat there." Gruner replied, "I already know about it." Then David said, "I could escape using that boat." But Gruner said, "Even if you escaped from here, you would either be eaten by the fish in the sea or die from the cold." Then David asked him, "Whose boat was that?" Gruner replied, "It belonged to smugglers who were smuggling dynamite, but their ship struck the rocks. Those people came here for help, but by morning, they had all become victims of the creatures. Then, David told Gruner, I have a suit, and through it and that boat, we can go into the sea and bring back the dynamite, with which we will fight those creatures. But Gruner flatly refused to go into the sea. After some days, David established a relationship with that creature, which made Gruner jealous. Then, Gruner told David, we will go into the sea. I have changed my decision. So they went into the sea with that boat. Actually, Gruner's plan this time was to have David die in the sea. He thought David would become prey to the fish. David told him, I will go underwater and tie the dynamite with a rope. And if I shake the rope 3 times, you will understand that I want to come back up. Then David went underwater and tied the dynamite with the rope. And Gruner pulled him back up. Near the ship, there were creatures. And seeing them, David fell into fear. Those were actually the young of the creatures. The suit David was wearing was heavy, so he had difficulty rising. Then Gruner pulled the rope up, and David came out of the water. After returning to the lighthouse, when they opened the box, they found a lot of dynamite. Then both of them placed dynamite around the lighthouse. David and Gruner waited for the night. It was very cold, and because of the snowfall, their condition was very bad. When night came, Gruner was on guard at the top of the lighthouse, and David was sitting with a gun downstairs on the stairs. Suddenly, the lantern went out, so David went down to light it again. As soon as he lit the lantern, suddenly a creature attacked him, and David stabbed it with a dagger. Then, when Gruner fired the flare gun, many creatures were coming toward the lighthouse. The creatures were entering the lighthouse, and David was firing bullets at them, while Gruner was shooting at them from above. When the situation went out of control, David set off the dynamite blast on those creatures, which killed them, but both David and Gruner fainted. When they regained consciousness, the creatures that had survived downstairs were being killed by Gruner. David saw a locket on the neck of one of the creatures. He realized that by killing them, they had made a big mistake. David gave the locket to Gruner and said, these creatures also have feelings. We made a big mistake by killing them. But Gruner had no feelings. He had become a savage. He threw the locket into the water and said, I am the king of this place. That creature, which was Gruner's pet, had run away during the blast. Gruner said it would surely return again. One time, David placed the boat near the seashore and day and night waited for that creature. Then one night, while Gruner was sleeping, David saw that he had a photo with him, the same kind that David had found earlier in that house. But in this photo, along with the woman, Gruner was also there. Then David realized that Gruner was actually the officer whom the government had sent here to investigate the weather. At night, when he went to the seashore, he saw that the boat was not there. When he looked around, there was a child of those creatures. And then that creature also appeared in front of David. Along with it, many more creatures arrived, but this time they were not in the mood to attack. But Gruner came there with a gun and told the creature to go inside the lighthouse. But it wasn't going. Because of this, Gruner started acting like a madman, realizing that nobody was obeying his orders anymore and that his kingship had ended. He ran toward the lighthouse and started firing at the creatures. He even killed that little child creature. Out of anger, David went to him and started fighting with Gruner. After fighting each other for quite some time, when Gruner lifted an axe and tried to strike David, David told him, you are not a killer. When Gruner heard his real name, he stopped. He realized that he was a weather officer and how much cruelty he had done to those creatures here. That's why he went outside the lighthouse and handed himself over to the creatures. The creatures killed Gruner Vegland and took their revenge. When David completed 1 year on this island, one day, 2 officers arrived at the lighthouse. They told David, Mr. Gruner, wake up! These officers thought David was Gruner because earlier, Gruner used to live in this lighthouse. When David woke up without saying anything, he went outside and saw that a ship had come near the island. He became very happy because the time to leave this island had finally come. And with this, the movie ends. If you liked this movie explanation video, then subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon so the notification of the next video reaches you. Like the video and share it with your friends. And tell me in the comments if you like my way of explaining movies or if I should make some changes. So, see you in the next video. Take care. Goodbye.